So you get to go in there. Oh, perfect. All right.
Okay, Aaron Fish can't be here. Sorry. Aaron Fish can't be here this evening. He has to work, and that's another thing we need to remember is, you know, a lot of these kids do end up going either back to work or try to manage work as they're doing all this. Let me just say a few things about Aaron. Aaron started off the year very much technical. He had a big interest in developing more of a system and a process with our CNC router. This machine has been in this lab since the mid-90s. Like literally when I first started teaching here, the machine was sitting in the corner. And last year, we finally dusted it off, and Alex Henry started a process but didn't really get it refined. Aaron Fish should be recognized as a student who brought it into working condition. And he just did it with such quietness and kind of behind the scenes, never wanted a recognition for it. And it really says a lot when a team member does something like that and just doesn't care to be recognized. Later, he saw an area on our team that needed a lot of help, and that was our scouting program. He took on learning a piece of software called Tableau, if I can say that correctly, and it is a monster, to say it lightly. It's something that needs hours and hours of time, and Aaron is on a process to help our team use that in the future, and I couldn't be more proud of him wanting to take on that challenge. Yeah, so I'm very excited to see where he heads in the future, and he's another one that's going to be, I think, this next year. But this is Casey Jones. Okay, so Kason, I've titled him the kid that just likes to get it done. And there really is no easier way or more simple way to describe this than that. He just loves to come in here and be productive and finish things. He's got this keen ability of listening while he's working. Because largely when I have to talk to Case and I got to come find him, he never comes to find me. So when I find him out here, his hands are always dirty. He's always knee deep into something. And I found out that I just have to kind of tail him for a while and tell him what I'm thinking. And as he's working and doing things, he'll listen and do exactly what I ask him to. So he's recognized by not only me and this team as the kid that likes to get it done, but his recognition goes beyond these walls. So now I have people coming to me, people I don't know, and say, hey, where's this Kason Jones kid? I've been told he does stuff, and sure enough, he does. So Kason has done projects for other students, and I have students coming to me and saying, hey, can this get welded? And we know this Kason kid. So Kason just really does own a lot of responsibility for using and implementing the things in this shop. When you watch him closely, as I mentioned before, he's just got this awesome listening ability, and he's able to process things in a very, very fast fashion. And it's an impressive thing to watch. He's a team player, and he's, again, going to be one of the deep in this next year. So, Jason.
There you go, Kason. Push it in. The chair.
We'll get this figured out.
You good there?
You're good. You're like, there you go. All right. All right.
Thank you.
talk while they sign. Bailey's another one who really loves his home out here, and it's kind of fitting that it's right over there. And I don't want to, lower his abilities by any means by just focus on one machine. But if you don't know what that is, that's a CNC mill. There are very few high school labs that have a CNC machine, let alone a CNC mill of that caliber. So we're lucky at Penn High School. And furthermore, we're lucky because we have students that just want to experience that. And when you start talking about understanding how a machine like that works, it's just multi-layered. And it's not something that just anyone can jump in and even follow a handbook and be able to run. So not only do you have to understand the design side, but you have to understand the programming side, and then you have to understand the mechanical limitations of the machine and how to mix all of that together. Constant variables, constant things to watch out for, and for some reason Bailey has found interest in that and just done a tremendous job. He's got a very quiet but confident demeanor. I can vividly remember after one of our competitions, Mr. Langfeld getting right to his to-do list and forgetting to recognize and just celebrate the accomplishments. And Bailey, at the end of it, kind of raised his hand and said, "Hey, Mr. Langfeld, how about all those great things we've done?" And he was right, very pointed and very right. So Bailey is one that I've known to listen to when he talks because he normally carries a very strong message. The other interest of Bailey's is photography. So Bailey largely has done a lot of our media work, and this is an awesome group to do media work with. But Bailey's done a tremendous job of helping us kind of get that message out. Beyond that, I'm anxious to see kind of what Bailey's future holds. Again, he's going to be a tough one to replace. I'm hoping he's got an interest of doing some training sessions for us so we can have someone to replace him on the CNC mill next year. So thank you, Bailey.
Bailey puts the chair in. Oh. Yep. I got that.
Okay, another senior that had to work this evening, Jimmy Good. First year that Jimmy is with us on the team, and Jimmy's also a football player. So I always like to make sure athletes recognize the commitment. And Jimmy fully did and was ready to take on the challenge. So it's a tough thing to juggle, I think, athletics and academics. And Jimmy's a great example of the way you can make that work. Jimmy's been very inspirational to me because he's just been a sponge. It's difficult to sometimes find your place on a team like this because everyone's moving in different directions, and sometimes a lot of people appear as if they all know what they're doing, but sometimes we're all trying to find our way, just like Jimmy was in the beginning. So Jimmy is very inspirational to me because he just was able to find those things that he really enjoyed and wanted to get better at and continue to work on those skills. Most days Jimmy found himself in the shop, of course, trying to solve problems out here, and he just did a tremendous job of learning and raising up the level of expectations and working on things. Jimmy also really enjoyed, I think, some of the softer skills. So I can think back to here and some of the things that he did in the computer lab helped us tremendously. So just a quick clap to Jimmy. Okay, our next one is Eileen. So Eileen been with us for 2 years, and last year I remember vividly Eileen just wanting to explore a lot of areas. So Eileen, I can remember her coming in with her welding helmet and her gloves, and she was all very excited to try out welding. And it's unique for a female to attempt to get into a very dirty, mechanical type situation like welding. But that was awesome. Largely probably because her older brother Alex was one of our best welders a few years previous. So I was very happy for Eileen, and she inspired me to do things because she was just trying new things, and that's always awesome to see kids do. I think this year she knew that her strengths really involved just working with her team. So she found herself organizing many things, from fundraiser events to community events to the scouting team. Eileen was the voice behind a lot of that work, and constantly stepping up in class, saying things, communicating things, organizing things, and she loves to use her social skills. So Eileen is just a talkative person in the best way possible, and she loves collaborating, and I think that's going to serve her well in life. From awards to scouting to community event planning and implementation, Eileen always has a strong positive message, and the team's going to be a loss without the Nortons. This is our last Norton, so yes, thank you very much, Eileen.
Push your chair in. Parents. All right.
All right, Connor Russell. Okay, so Connor understands what it means to live first, probably more than anyone on this team. And a lot of times Connor will remind me the importance of first in the message. So after last year's chairman's experience, I know Connor came to class very inspired to be a leader, and I think he's come through with that. I'll always remember Connor as being kind of that first group of students at Penn High School that made chairman's, what I'm calling the chairman's movement on 135. And what an honor to have that. For those of you in the room that don't know about chairman's, it'll be your homework assignment. But you certainly would be proud once you understand the magnitude of that award and the work Connor's done to help us get it. Many in the community of FIRST often ask me, as I said as we started, often ask me how we get our students so deeply involved and passionate about FIRST. As I think about Connor being one of those role model FIRSTers, it really is something inside of them that wants to make the world a better place around them. And I think Connor exhibits that each and every day. How lucky we are all to be around young people like this. And Connor Russell, we're going to miss you. Thank you.
Cool.
Okay, next one is Caitlin. So, as I mentioned earlier, Caitlin's largely responsible for this, and this took a lot of planning, a lot of organization, and getting these seniors to get excited about being up in front of others is sometimes a challenge. So Caitlin did a tremendous job with that. Caitlin also, to me, represents probably the most involved female in the technical side of robotics. And I'm not ashamed to say that a lot of times when females come to this room, this environment, it's intimidating, I think, at times. And Caitlin reminded me that, especially last year and the beginning of this year, that this really is an area where all can be successful. So Caitlin helped us lead one of our sub-teams, was very vocal, was very outgoing. And Caitlin also plays a role on more of the field team and pit team as she interacts, does communication with the different teams down there. So she does that tremendously well. So it's awesome to have that female presence on those teams. If there were an area of growth for 135, our team, it would definitely be in trying to encompass more females in this area. And I think we're getting better at that, but I think we have a long ways to go. Caitlin largely helps us play a role in seeing all that happen. Caitlin, I couldn't be more proud of the path that you've helped us create for other females as it relates to our team. Your smile is contagious, your spirit is always evident, and I sure hope to stay in touch with you in the future and see all the awesome things that you're working on.
Hold it up. Certificate. Hold your certificate up. And then you. And sister. Yeah. You get them on? Cool.
Tyler style. Tyler's been 2 years with us. Another student who I feel showed tremendous growth last year. It's always very exciting for me to see our juniors and the amount of things they learn and understand as a junior, and then come to really, I think, implement a lot of those learnings as a senior. Tyler's always had an interest in mechanical things. He's a rare student, though, that embodies the research as much as the mechanical just doing of things. I've come to appreciate just Tyler's ability to gather data, process the data, and then be able to make predictions and outcomes based on that. So clearly, in my opinion, a very strong engineer, technical mind, and I'm very anxious to see where that takes him in the future. So I feel like when Tyler contributes to anything on this team, it's always based on facts, and he's a very factual person in terms of his findings. So many prototypes, many design iterations. For Tyler, I think a lot of times lives on a computer first before it lives in a lab, which is very exciting. He constantly studies first, constantly studies the things in first that make teams better, and he tries to help us implement those. Anytime I look for honest and sincere feedback, Tyler's always the one that will bring it to me. And that's not a bad thing. I've come to appreciate that a lot of times I might be drifting left of center or right of center. I think a lot of times our students help me get back on center. So Tyler is no different in terms of that ability. Always does it respectfully, always does it professionally, but typically has some good feedback for him. Tyler also is able to manage an athletic schedule along with robotics, and that can never be overlooked because that means a lot of time management. So Tyler, we certainly appreciate all your I think it is. Is that 5% into a competition? Okay, Andrew on the law. Okay, Andrew is another student who's been lucky enough to be, we've had lucky enough to be around our programs, even before being a freshman at FTC. A lot of camp time, I think Andrew spent back here with us. Andrew has always just found a comfort in projects involving any type of technology. So, as is the case with most of these students, I think Andrew owns credit for a machine that we now have living in that room, which is our CNC plasma cutter. Again, a newer machine, but still always just needs those constant tweaks and updates and changes, and then of course the training that has to be onloaded to the next year's group. So Andrew in the beginning of the season found himself doing a lot of work, and you know you have a student that is in control of the machine when a project comes up and they instantly bypass me and go straight to the student and says, this is what we need done. And I think Andrew, as he's shaking his head yes, recognizes the fact that he just owns the responsibility of that machine, that process. So what a better way to kind of leave, I think, a place like this to just have that in your memory. Constant iterations and revisions, obviously establishing protocols, and we're certainly hopeful that he will share that with our team in the future. Andrew's largely been the technical voice behind our new scouting process this year. If you don't understand, scouting is a big thing in FIRST because you want to make sure you're lined up with the teams that we definitely want to be lined up with in the finals. So Andrew not only has helped manage the technical side, but also gets the privilege, I guess we call it, of being the voice for 135 as we go through our line selections. And there's not more of a stressful position in a more concentrated time than being the spokesperson for the team. I think Andrew's handled it extremely well. I knew for a long time he was going to be my choice, and just has that presence and that ability to articulate, which is very, very good. So Andrew, I wish you all the luck. Thank you.
Dad. Hi, Dad. All right.
So Zach is by far the most personable person on this team. Anyone warms up to Zach, and Zach warms up to anyone. There's a specific memory in my mind of an open house we had where a young man, probably younger elementary student, came through with his father, and his father and this young man spent a good hour talking to Zach and walking around the shop. And Zach, of course, A to Z, everything was here in only Zach way. And about a week later, we get an online donation, and we find out that it was the dad that went back to his work and was so inspired by Zach and the message and the things that happened that he made a few $100, if I'm not mistaken. So Zach just has this keen ability of being able to communicate a good, strong message with anyone. And to communicate a thing like FIRST and Team 135, you have to have the background. And we found out last year that Zach was interested in knowing the background and just being able to communicate a good, positive message. He's an awesome ambassador. We're going to miss him dearly. He worked primarily to bring our story to the public. So if you don't know Zach, and in a minute, was largely behind the computer, generating all these positive media images around our team. And his work is just so evident and so important to what we do. I really don't know how you begin to replace a kid like Zach. I said I expect the next step for Zach will be just as exciting as what he has helped us create for our team. Zach, I want to thank you for your constant positiveness and helping to create a positive experience on this team.
All right.
Evan Willis.
Good job.
So I guess when I was making my notes, the first thing I pointed out is Evan's not going to West Lafayette. So Evan is one of these rare ones that decided to go to a different place, which is Iowa State, and that's exciting. So Evan has had such a quiet confidence about him for especially this year, and I think a little bit of last year. The thing that always worries me about quiet confidence is that sometimes it's headed down the wrong path. So Evan likes to work very independently. Although he physically lives very close to my station, my computer desk, Evan largely doesn't always ask for a lot of input from me. And as again, as someone who tries to get a constant, consistent message going on our team, that sometimes is worrisome. But Evan, very, very early in the year, has proven to me that he typically outperforms and almost outthinks me in terms of the message that we're trying to share. And his end product is second to none. Evan also has this keen ability of being just a razor-sharp listener. He listens with his eyes. He certainly is involved in every conversation very intently, and really does make sure he wants to get every detail in there. Again, on a team like this, you're very connected to your work when the entire team calls on you to complete a task that kind of falls in your domain. So Evan's another example of just people bypassing me, going right to Evan and saying, hey, we need this done. Evan clearly is a leader of telling the Team 135 story with the digital media, and Evan will be sure on this. Thank you. That's all. Was that your left hand? No. Are you Yeah.
Woo! Thanks, Evan.
Okay, so probably won't surprise any of you that know Brandon when I say he's the most reserved and quiet person on this team. And that's not always a bad thing. Here's the interesting thing about Brandon that I've come to really appreciate. When Brandon has a thought, he's got the entire lab listening to him. You can hear a pin drop when this kid talks because sometimes you have to have that quiet to hear it. The point I'm trying to make here is he's earned the respect of everyone on the team because of his knowledge, because of his research abilities, and just his passion to get it right. Brandon constantly is in the world of FIRST, is researching, and is trying to bring that information to our team. I've so enjoyed watching him grow. Last year, we didn't see this much development out of Brandon. Of course, this year he's helped manage and lead a lot of our team areas. He strikes me as kind of an engineering type, so I will not be surprised in 4 years when he comes back to Penn and says, "I've got my engineering degree," because I fully expect that to happen. Brandon probably has dealt with ups and downs as well as anyone I've seen. Brandon was one of these students that wanted to be a potential driver, and that's always a difficult thing when your name doesn't get called to be that final driver. But I so admire the way he's handled himself, and I think it's a great asset to him in the future. I hope Brandon decides to stay in FIRST. I really could see him being an excellent mentor someday. And Brandon, thank you very much.
Hold up the certificate. And then parents get to go. All right, let her try it again.
Okay.
There we go. Yeah. It worked. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Okay, so that is, I think, all I have. I may have overspoke the boss because I think we were going to let Mr. Hope make a few remarks. We'll let him close. How about that?
Thank you, Mr. Langfeld. Ms. Carlisle, thank you. Appreciate all the work that all of you did. Students, congratulations on your future. I noticed that none of you put down that you're going into education. If you change your minds over the next 4 years, come back and see you. Always looking for a great team. Parents, thank you so much. None of this would be possible without you, all of your support for all of these young men and women, and all that they've done here. This is really what the Academy System at Penn is all about. We're not about graduating from Penn. We're about making that transition from Penn to whatever is next. And you can see these great transition plans that all of these students have, and that's what we want to celebrate here. So thank you for being a part of that. Thank you for coming out tonight. I do want to recognize that we did have one board member here, Mr. Randy Williard. I don't think we could take it off the very end here, but I want to recognize him as well. So thank you.
All of you know that we're getting ready to load a bus tomorrow morning. 7 o'clock arrival, bus pulls out at 7:30. I know a lot of you are going to go to St. Louis, so that's exciting. Trailers packed, I think. So I think we're in pretty good shape. Caitlin, anything else to add before I say goodnight?
I'd like to thank all the seniors again for giving me the information. Though it is simple, and we have finals and AP tests coming up. But I just like to thank everyone here. So, thank you very much.
Good night, everyone.
Woo!
Yep.
5 minutes early.
We tear it all up.